So, as you all know, that these leadership talk sessions are being organized by India International Education Council and School Lalaji Solutions. India International Education Council is a not-for-profit organization which is working in the field of education. It has collaborators from 12 countries. India International Education Council aims to create a better world through education. It also aims to build quality centers, for elementary education, which are approachable for all kids. It also tries to find best educational practices across the globe and find ways to implement those in Indian institutions. It also tries to create more awareness on hygiene and learning disabilities. It publishes a magazine called World Education Review and many other educational reports. It aims to build 100 chapters in different cities by 2022. It will soon open its membership for institutions and individuals. It also imparts training for leaders, teachers, students, and parents. So, as I share that this is a 74th session. So far, we have organized 73 sessions. We have received 6,862 registrations during those sessions. We have also received 6,016 questions on national education policy. We have seen participation from 5 countries: India, USA, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Nepal. From India, we have seen participation from 19 states and 78 cities. We aim to organize 200 sessions. In these sessions, we would be reaching out to 100,000 educators, 20,000 plus institutions. We will be reaching out to. We also would be seeing the participation of 1,000 plus eminent speakers like today's speakers, who would be joining us to share their perspective and thought on national education policy. Collectively, we'll try to create a roadmap, and collectively we'll compile these ideas and thoughts into a document. Eventually, we would be sharing the document with the all stakeholders. Now, please join me in welcoming our key speaker for the day. Our first speaker for this very special 74th session, Arun Kumar Das sir. Uh, Das sir needs, in fact, no introduction. He is the former
Hello,
principal with
guy. Good. Please carry on.
yeah. Welcome, Das sir. Now, Das sir is
Thank
former
you.
principal with the Asian School Dehradun. He he has also worked as a principal with the Ivy League Academy Hyderabad and the Lawrence School Dublin. He is a dedicated and astute administrator and a teacher with total 3 decades of extensive and comprehensive experience in teaching, student management, coordination, and administration. He underwent a course on leadership management from IIM Ahmedabad. He has published 5 research papers on different topics. He has worked with many prestigious schools of India, including Doon School, Dehradun. He has also been director vocational service, Rotary Club Puri, in 1973 to 75. He has also been a member of National Association of Geographers India. He's a life member of Indian National Cartography Association. He was also the president of Sahodaya Complex, Ota Kemand, Tamil Nadu, in 1998 to 2000. He recently received a Lifetime Achievement Award in the field of teaching and educational administration. It was awarded by the Principal Progressive School Association, Dehradun, in 2019. Uh, Das sir, welcome and big thanks for joining us. It's a huge honor to have you as a speaker. Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
so much. I feel humbled with all that. I feel
Welcome,
very
welcome, sir.
humble.
We'll
Thank you
come back
very
to
much.
you. We'll come back to you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining. Our next key speaker, Ms. Ritu Chitranshi ji. Ritu ji is principal with Nurture International School, Kanpur, Uttar Pradesh. She has been in the field of education for last 25 years. She holds a postgraduate degree in English and a gold medal in BEd. She is the chief academic advisor to ABPD SPS. She is also the secretary with the Kanpur chapter of IAPE. She has launched 2 successful schools in the city in the years 2000 and 2011, respectively. And she is known for their these schools are known for their innovative and progressive education. Rituji is a passionate educationist with experience in ECCE as a trainer. She is a storyteller and a functional phonics expert. She believes in integrating the latest pedagogies into the teaching learning process. We welcome you, Ritu ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a real privilege to be speaking on one platform with such eminent educationists from around the world and probably India as well. Thank you so much for having me here.
Welcome, welcome, Ritu ma'am. Our next key speaker, Swami Ramkrishna Ananda ji. He's advisor with Chinmaya Vishwa Vidya Peeth, Peravom, Kerala. Swami Ramkrishna Ananda ji is a resident spiritual guide of Chinmaya Mission, Nagapattinam, where there is also a very successful Chinmaya Vidyalaya. He was earlier posted at Reunion Island and he is the author of Chinmaya International Foundation's Easy Sanskrit course. He has been called the world's best Sanskrit teacher by his students from around the world. Apart from Sanskrit courses, his talks on Srimad Bhagavatam, Upanishads, and Bhagavad Gita and other Vedantic texts are very popular too. He has coordinated the largest color water mosaic Guinness Book World Record program to commemorate the centenary celebration of Swami Chinmayananji in the year 2016. Uh, Swamiji, I welcome you and big thanks for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Hari Om. Thank you very much for inviting me. Hari Om.
Welcome, sir. Our next key speaker, Dr. Rishi Khurana ji. Dr. Khurana is founder principal with the Shanti Gyan International Senior Secondary School, Delhi. He is also the director with the Sunrise Institute of Education and Technology, Greater Noida, Uttar Pradesh. He is also the director with Montfort Academy Senior Secondary School, Dhanbad, Jharkhand. He is also he's the chairman with the Football Tennis Association of Delhi, vice president Hansraj Model School Alumni Association. He is a secretary with the Javeer Singh Rathi Memorial Educational Society, Dadri. Dr. Khurana has received many prestigious awards and recognition for his contribution to the field of education. We welcome you, Rishi sir. It's an honor to have you. Your support is inspirational to our journey. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for allowing me to say today and welcome you all and happy new year to everyone out there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Welcome. Our next key speaker, Miss Dr. Kavita Dhaya ji. The name is wrongly written here. She is the head of with management department with SRM University, Haryana. Dr. Kavita Dhaya's research interests includes emotional maturity, work family conflict, well-being, job satisfaction, stress, leadership, KM and organization communication. Dr. Kavita Singh brings the enriched experience of around 14 plus years in academics. Dr. Singh earned her MBA in HRM and marketing and doctorate in management. Dr. Singh is an active researcher and has published many research papers, book chapters in peer-reviewed academic journals and books. Dr. Kavita Singh has participated in several workshops and presented research papers in various reputed international and national conferences. She has been writing in international national journals of repute like Scopus and SCI Index. We welcome you, Kavita ma'am. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Rajulji, for inviting me on this good platform where all the academicians are there. On behalf of SRM University, I'm very thankful to you.
Thank you. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you. Next key speaker, Jaswinder Singh ji. Jaswinder ji is founder and CEO of Wordsworth ELT. Wordsworth English Lab is designed for India and is highly research initiative of ACT Univ Group. It is a trusted educational company with 2 decades of service in technology, education and training. Its expertise in technology, multimedia and content development has been instrumental in presenting a world-class language lab solution for academia in India. In a short span of time, Wordsworth English Language Lab has managed considerable recognition across the country for its unique content and methodology. Over 3,000 installations in institutions across the country stand testimony of the quality in product, implementation, training, and the continual service provided by ACT Univ and its committed network of dealers. We welcome you, Jaswinder Singh sir. Thank you for joining. Next key speaker, Mr. Alistair Fernandez. Alistair is the manager with Fatado School of Music. Fatado School of Music is India's largest music educator. It is a brand which is synonym to music in our country. It is a legacy of 150 years. It has been working with 200 plus leading schools of India. It has trained over 1 lakh students across country. It owns many renowned titles like Bandit, Piano Concert, Cadence, Workshops, High Jump Training, FSM Exams, Incidental Recital, FSM Recital. It enjoys partnerships with renowned institutions like Berklee College of Music and NMIMS School of Performing Arts. We welcome you, Alistair. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much for having me over here. And I would like to thank you for this opportunity to put forth my views. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. So I again welcome all the key speakers and participants for joining us, in this 74th session of Leadership Talk. So with this, I would request our key speakers if we can have your opening remark. I would request Arun Kumar Das sir if we can begin with you. If we can have your quick 1 minute opening remark. Das sir,
Yeah,
over to you.
yeah, I'm switching it on. Yes. Am I audible?
You're audible, sir.
So nice of you. So nice of you. Thank you for the brilliant introduction. Most of it, of course, goes over my head as well. I've done a bit. I've done a bit, which is part of my job. So I got this opportunity and privilege. Most important of all, I would like to wish all the leaders on the education field who are present here a very pleasant, happy New Year. Let's hope that this new year erases most of our not so good memories of the past year, and we look after our own health and use our wisdom to make this year more meaningful and purposeful. Having said that, now the most important topic is about a new education policy, more overdue than ever, and it has finally arrived. And it's good that we are putting into a debate so that it gathers momentum in every quarter of reference so that people accept it. I would like to particularly highlight only one topic within that 1 minute. That is, education is pointless if it doesn't touch every aspect of growth, including the personality of the one who's involved in it. That's the student, that's the child. So having said so, we have to find meaning in the education policy diktats or in the report. How much of it is there or how much of it is still to be done? Thank you very much. That's
Thank
my
you.
1 minute, I guess.
Yeah.
Thank you, Das sir. We'll come back to you for your main talk.
Okay.
Now, I would request Ritu ma'am, your 1 minute opening remark.
Very, very good afternoon and a very happy new year to all present here. And as Sir said, yes, we should be looking forward to a very good 2021. And I guess 2020 in some way has set the pace while we are debating or contemplating on the new education policy in the second day of the 2021. So when any policy is introduced, and this is again of a high magnitude because it's going to affect the growth of our country. I mean, the future of our country lies in our hands, and this day, so whatever we plan, and that has been long since overdue, since 1986, I would say, after 34 years, we've got this NEP, and many of us are probably not comfortable or are not in agreement to whatever has been laid down in the policy. Some say it is too ambitious, some say it is not achievable. But I think if we are not ready to change ourselves, we need to actually lay out certain standards for ourselves. Then only we'll be putting those ahead for the future of our nation, basically. So I feel this is a beautifully drafted policy, and of course, a lot is going to be remaining to see when we get how the strategies are placed and the roadmaps are installed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ritu ma'am. Certainly, we all are trying to create those strategies in a collective way. We'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Now, I would request Swamiji, if we can have your remark, your opening comments.
Yeah. So can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So I will handle the topic, the vocational education, reimagining the vocational education. I went through this national education policy completely. So I took more than 3-4 months, this Corona period we used to train our teachers in Chinmaya Vidyalaya. So many very good points. I do not know, but how to they apply, how to implement so many ideas. But ideas are very brilliant. I'm very much impressed with this vocational education and dignity of labor. So as much as possible, I will shorten my talk and I'll bring this in 8 to 10 minutes. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you, Swamiji. We all are very excited to hear your ideas on this. Thank you. Now, I would request Rishi Khurana sir, sir, your opening remarks.
I'm adding to what has been already said about the NEP. It is a fantastic chance for all the educators around India to make a difference in education, what we were thinking in our minds for since long. And I believe this would give a platform for an overall development of the child, what I feel. And I'll be talking on the same topic what Mr. Swamiji would be saying on vocational education, because this is something new what the schools are going to inculcate in our systems. And a lot of learning and a lot of new things are to be trained, are to be learned for the schools to start these programs. And I hope that the government also provide the proper training procedures and platforms where we can train our teachers for all these kind of new changes what they're expecting from the schools to inculcate. Let's hope for the best. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Rishi sir. We'll come back to you. Now, I would request Kavita Dahiya ma'am.
Thank you, everyone, and wish you a very happy new year. New education policy after a long period, like it is a great effort by our country that we are upcoming with a new education policy 2020, and everything what in this included is that we need a mapping between the school and the universities, and this is going to be giving emphasis on the holistic development of the students, and the students will have the choice to live in between, and they can go for earning the credits in the universities or colleges of their own choice. So here the vocational education will be given more emphasis, and a practical part which was that doing by learning is more important in the current scenario, and it is going to be really a great boon for the students and they will have the overall great change in the upcoming generation of our Indian nationals. So I think we need to work on the mapping between the school syllabi and the universities, so that bridging or the lacking can be filled where we were having the problems earlier. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kavita ma'am. Certainly, integration between school and higher education is very much important. Thank you. We'll come back to you. Now, I would request Jaswinder sir, your opening remark.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody, and a healthy new year to all of you. Uh, I we are definitely going to talk about the NEP 2020. What Ritu ma'am said, this is very ambitious. Yes, ma'am, this is very ambitious. But as you also said, this is the most needed also. To achieve this, what I think is we need to challenge ourselves. We need to compete ourselves and say, yes, we can do it, because this is the only way we can become what we are destined to be. India is a very old civilization. We started education in the world and we are lacking now. But I'm sure if we are able to do this kind of, put in these kinds of changes, which are mammoth and unthinkable, I'm sure we will reach where we are supposed to be there. That's one thing. Okay. My focus during the session today is something which is close to Ritu ma'am and also close to Swamiji. We're going to talk about languages. Okay. So since we as a company, we work with 3,000 plus schools and we work on language enrichment. Swamiji, for your information, what I see is Sanskrit is your passion. Sanskrit is your love. We have recently launched a Sanskrit language lab. If you allow me, I would want you to take a look at it and give us a feedback. I'll be honored if you could, have a feedback from your side. And looking forward to connect with you all during this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaswinder ji. Now, I would request Alistair, can we have your opening remark?
Yes, yes. Thanks, Rajul. First of all, a very, very happy New Year 2021. On behalf of Potatoes School of Music, I can say we are thrilled to see the inclusion of vocational studies in NEP 2020. So we feel it's a giant leap, a giant step towards the holistic development of a child. So inclusion of vocational courses into the mainstream education system will not only encourage the children to think creatively, but also to gain new experiences. So both of which play a very important role in the child's development. Thanks.
Uh, Thank you, Alistair. The voice was, it was being. I would suggest if you can again, just can log out and log in again. Meanwhile, we'll come back to you. We'll go to the next speaker. Now, with this, we enter into the next part of our session, which is the main talk session. I would request Arun Kumar Das sir, if we can begin with you. So all the speakers, I would request if you can confine your talk for 8 to 10 minutes so that we have sufficient time in the end for the questions. Arun Kumar Das sir, over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, this is a great opportunity indeed. I have been reading through the NEP 2020, which I call are the twin years, but NEP 20, and there are many positives in this report. And now that it has already been accepted as a policy, so it is extremely important for us to read not only the lines in the report, but also the ones which are between the lines, the unwritten part of it. So that also has to be covered. I mainly came in today to discuss something which is the umbrella of all education system, because here in this policy they are suggesting to promote all educational activities in a manner that it gives a holistic education to the child. I think I, I would be appropriately discussing this particular area. Now, what happens in education? Education is actually, we call it a necessity and so on and so on. And so some people are still debating whether to call it infrastructure or not, or a social need. But I personally feel it is much more than an infrastructure. This is the basic foundation on which a superstructure rests. So it's as important as that. So hence, the basic structure should be so strong that it can withstand the tests of time. So the fundamentals of education, which begins at the school level and just prior to that in the pre-primary or in the house level, all that needs to be taken into consideration. That only will train the child to accept and become self-learners. Unless and until we produce a curriculum over and beyond that of the syllabi, or integrate something much more to the syllabi, topic-wise, in each and every subject, we won't be able to go make much headway while we talk about providing complete education, because we are not only providing a self-learner, we are aiming perhaps, as a policy envisages, to produce a thinker, a self-made thinker, who subsequently is going to think about nation building, about building the society where they live, the immediate society, about taking care of their own family, and most important of all, taking care of themselves. That, as it was said a little while ago, that learning by doing, hence it becomes very important. So the area that I'm talking about is that when we talk about holistic education, which they have included in the education policy in the Parak statement, if people must have read through that. So what happens is a child's study matter is directly linked to what the child is doing over and beyond the classrooms, not only while in school but outside of school, while the child is with the peer groups and with the faculty member maybe, or with other outside people, let's say the specialists or professionals. And it adds on when the child goes back home, because that's where the application part comes in. So they are trying to cover all this in the education policy, and I think nothing is better than that. It takes a leaf out of the old system called CCE, which did not quite work. But this one is eventually going to work, and it is certainly far better than the earlier system. And hence, we have to create foolproof measures to identify the areas that we're introducing in the curriculum in a manner that everything can be reported, recorded, and assessed. And after assessment and analysis can be done. And that comprehensive chart thus produced can be handed over to the parent, who can then understand where their child stands. This way, a holistic method can be integrated into the total education process. For example, when we talk about physics, physics is ideally learned in the field. For example, when we say hitting the ball, bowling the ball in a trajectory to have the greatest impact, it directly deals with force. Same is the case in geography. When we talk about nature, it's unimaginable that nature can create something like a sea arch, a sea cave, the mountains, which is produced in the Tethys, which we link it to the mythology that there was a river there, there was a sea there earlier called the Tethys Sea, but subsequently the Himalayas have come up. We in India relate it to Samudra Manthan. After that Manthan, the Himalayas came up. The geologists have related. So all these practical aspects can only be understood if a child goes for a field trip. Child goes to play sports. But at every stage, like in the classroom level, there too, it should be graded. Graded in the sense observed and a right type of methodology applied so that the child establishes minimum levels of learning as we do for a particular topic or a subject. And that way, we can bring in a holistic kind of education. Self-expression is the most important part of a child's learning, which is directly attached to a child's behavior process and mental learning or mental balance. Now, that happens when the child is exposed to speak in front of the peer group and express his or her own ideas. Now, that used to be absent in most cases, never certified to be studied in a curriculum in schools a while ago. But with the new education policy, it is certainly going to come into the fore because that will certainly be assessed. So the parents, the peer group, the schools all come to play a role. So this method of integration will certainly provide a holistic education to the child. Number three, I had the thought of saying that when we talk about sports, sports in particular is a great leveler. And that, if it is put into school education, it can play a stellar role. Every child, whether the child is a paraplegic or child is normal, either way, everyone is equal and everyone can be given affordable means of doing or expressing their physical prowess, either individually or within a group. It now is left to the school to decide that. If you say CBSE or CISE Council or IB, etc., will provide us with a curriculum, that's far-fetched. It is never going to happen. Every individual school should program it in a manner that reflects the kind of students they take in at the time of admissions, and hence bring the parents into confidence and then start the curriculum which will be specific to that institution. And this drops of water in each school will add up to the national level, and holistic education can become a reality which now is non-existent. Same is the case when we ask a child to go for an outdoor trip, first in a group and then individually, to handle life all by themselves by the learning that they've done while in school at home. So this can be also part of a curriculum and graded. I know there are many sort of outdoor expedition programs that are available, but they should be all assessed. And the assessment should be such that there is no comparisons. We can't say that one has failed, the other one is passed, but instead we tell them where you stand. So that method of education should be introduced, which holistic education directly or indirectly in certain areas, as I mentioned, envisages. So I personally feel that holistic education, which will cover academics, co-curricular educations, and extracurricular education, should form an integral part of the entire curriculum design in the school to give a holistic education to the child. Over and above that, there should be a constant interaction with the parents as well as with the people who do the assessments, so that assessment is not arbitrary as it is happening now, but it is directly reflecting the child's aptitude and ability and desire level, objective levels, so that a child who is not good in one must shine in the other. Everyone can't do the same. Everyone can't be good swimmers. So let's leave some people to be good designers. Let's have some people to be good people, hold such important webinars and seminars as our host is doing it at this point of time. That will be a great pride for the parents and for the school and for the institution. So this is what I was trying to harp upon. It's much more than meets the eye, but as the time is a little short, we can't go into the details, but much of it is there. I'm working sincerely on the areas of Parak, and let's see what comes out of it. This is all that I had to say. I hope it will cut ice and it will be taken forward. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Das sir. You raised a very important point that we must encourage assessment, but without making comparisons. So assessment you
Assessment without
understood
comparisons.
without comparisons. Wonderful, wonderful. So a big thanks, sir. We'll come back to you. We have received few questions. We would like to present these questions to you. So now, with this, I would request Ritu ma'am, your ideas, your thoughts on national education policy.
So I'll be jumping on from like one point to the other, but I'll eventually come down to the topic which is very close to my heart. So first of all, as sir said, yes, I too am expecting a lot out of Parak because standardized assessments are the need of the day, and moreover, this assessing the children on the basing when they've based it on the learning outcomes, right, in the class in third standard, fifth standard, and eighth standard, it's going to give us a lot of time as educators and as parents to set the record straight and probably rectify the areas which need it. Apart from that, I feel the compete with yourself, and these things are not very new for me as a principal or as an educator, because in my school we have been asking our children to compete with themselves for probably last 10 years. So now, if I come to this national education policy, I feel that it is moving away from the concept one size fits all. So every child is special, and now they have made it more student centric. A lot of flexibility is being given to the children. So, in a way, this is going to give a lot of impetus to the children who are not academically very sound. They too can be, reassured, or they can feel very inclusive. So, secondly, I'll come to my favorite topic, that is the ECC, that's Early Childhood Care and Education. I've been associated with this since 1996, and I've seen that though whatever NEP 2020 is saying in connection with ECC was already there in 1986 NEP. It says, and I quote, recognizing the holistic nature of child development, nutrition, health, social, mental, physical, moral, and emotional development, ECC will receive high priority. And with that, they had actually stopped the practice of teaching 3 hours to the students. But sorry to say, this has been continuing. Our preschools are moving as per their whims and fancies. There is no standardization of curriculum. What we are focusing is standardization of the curriculum, innovation, devising new methods for higher classes. But what about the pre-primary? The early childhood care education holds a lot more importance than we think it holds, because that is the only time that early intervention can actually break the cycle of deprivation. No, when the child comes to you, if he has not undergone a proper stimulating environment, a lot of damage has already been done. And those 5 years from 3 to 8, these are actually the years when the brain develops very rapidly, very fast, and they are very fresh, and you can do a lot with them. But we lose out on those very beautiful molding years, I would say. And what happens later on is seen by all. Most of them lose interest by the time they reach higher classes. So what we need to do is make our classrooms joyful. Like as in my school, we call these years, we've segregated again these years into joyful years, empowering years, inspiring years, and victorious years. So what this policy says about ECC, I feel that this should be done. Now, there are questions that are going to be arising. I mean, it needs a lot more trained staff. Our teachers need to have intensive trainings. And for that, NEP has already provided minimum 50 hours CPD every year. So that is a very good step that I would appreciate, that not only they have laid down the guidelines, they are actually working on how to achieve those. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ritu ma'am. You have told these very important points that the recommendation about EC was also there in the NHS policy, but we
Yes.
failed as the part. But I also believe, and like in the last part would like you share more insights on that. But I believe that what this policy has already done, that it has created awareness among educators, among parents, that the early years are the most important years. We always knew that, but I would say in a limited domain, people did not recognize that part. But I believe that NEP has already created that awareness and environment among the masses, that early years are the important years. Right. Thank you. Ritu ma'am, we'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Now I would request Swamiji, sir, your ideas, your thoughts. Over to you. Sir, you are on mute, Swamiji.
Is it okay, Hariom?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So I have taken this topic, reimagining the vocational education. This is the 16th point in that book, so which our government published. There are so many very good points they brought out, very, very nicely thought over, under the guidance of our Kasturi Ranganji and his team. They worked very, very brilliantly. They worked. So I enjoyed every point of this NEP. Now, so this is the 16.3. So where he brings that vocational education is perceived to be inferior to mainstream education. So what is our problem? What is our problem in our country? So they analyzed very nice problems. That problem to be solved, not in the effect level, the cost level. So very nicely they thought and reflected. Cost is education, the effect is social life or national life. So the problem with the Indians, or Indian attitude, vocational education is perceived to be inferior to mainstream education. Mainstream, I have to become doctor, lawyer, professor. Other than that, everything is inferior. So this kind of attitude we have. So in this 1 month back, 2 months back or 1 month, I saw a video. That video, one lawyer came out of the court and he removed his uniform, went to this. He set up this kind of selling a tender coconut. He went and he started selling the tender coconut. So this is the very practical kind of thing. We need to inculcate this kind of idea in our children's mind. So this thought is I like very much in NEP. So I appreciate the whole team. They thought over very nicely and brought that idea. This is our problem. So what are the benefits? To solve the problem, then what kind of benefit we are going to get out of this NEP idea? This is the benefit we are going to get out of this vocational education. This would lead to emphasizing the dignity of labor, which we don't have Indians. Well, we don't have the dignity of labor. If I'm doctor, I have to do only the doctor work, only the lawyer work. So I cannot come out from my level, then I'll do. So this, the mentality will be broken. And importance of various vocations, how to respect other, the vocations also. Rickshawala, your servant maid, see how we look. So this kind of mentality we have to break and respect each and every aspect of this vocation. So these two ideas will bring out. Because of this idea, the social change will come. Definitely social change will come. And third point, where is in India in this vocational education? Where is our place in the world? When I say this point also given in that book. This is point number 16.1, the same book. And they are telling the vocational education, the last 12th 5-year plan till 2017, our place is only 5% development. 5% development in vocation. You say South Korea is number 1, Germany number 2, USA number 3, the 4th place, not even 4th place. I do not know how many countries are in between. Our Gurudev Swami Chinmayanji says, Indians are very, very proficient. This is the whole library in their mind. But if you ask them to do anything, they are inefficient to bring that proficiency into practice. So we are totally inefficient to bring out our proficient ideas into our practical life. So this number itself shows where we are. So based on this kind of study, the NEP team brought very nice point of vocational education. I appreciate that team again and again. Action plan. They have action plan. This also indicated in the same book. In 2025, in 4 years, so we have to 50% of the learners through school. We have to, in 4 years, we have to bring at least 50% of the students to the field. And we have to inculcate this kind of practical idea. So this is the plan they have. And so many plans also it is indicated there. And one more very nice point I want to bring to notice, vocational education system in Mahabharata. This is not new idea. This is not new idea for national education policy. And when you go to foreign countries, you appreciate their dignity of labor, how they respect other vocations also. This is not the idea from foreign countries, or this is a new education policy idea. If you go back 5,000 years back in Mahabharata, you find this. I don't know whether Dronacharya taught them or Kripacharya taught them. Which Acharya taught this Pancha Pandavas? They practiced the national education system in Mahabharata. Now I'll give you. These are the vocational education Mahabharata. Pancha Pandavas on Draupadi. How they spent 5 years in 1 year in Virata Desha. So we know the story, what happened in the Mahabharata. They were asked to go to forest for 12 years and 13th year they have to be in exile. They have to hide themselves. Some of the cities or towns, they should not hide in the forest. So you have to hide yourself. When we come and touch you, Duryodhana says, when I come and touch you, again you have to go to 12 years forest. Again 1 more year you have to hide. Again I will come and touch you. Again you have to go 12 years. This is the system he made the Duryodhana. They spent 12 years in the forest. 13th year, they were hiding in Virata Desha. So how they were hiding in that particular palace, how they spent their life. This is the subject matter of Virata Parva. In that Virata Parva, so after finishing the 12 years, they were discussing and they have decided. So we will take one palace, we will hide there without knowing anyone and we have to spend 1 year. They spent their 1 year not simply sitting, eating something in that palace. And they were not living like beggars. How they spent their 1 year very efficiently, Bhagavan Vedavyasa brings very nicely. Yudhishthira goes there as minister. And he is very much fond of dice and other games. He is entertaining the king. And he gets some salary also. Simply not spending time and eating food. No. He learned this kind of that art and entertaining the king. And he spent his time. So his name is Kanka. And he is worked as minister, chief minister or prime minister, important minister of that particular king. So this is the reference sloka for Mahabharata. And our Bhima is very much good in cook. You know, the Nalapakan Bhima cook is very, very popular in our scriptures. So Bhima, he became cook. And he served 1 year there. And all these people liked his cook. You know, what is the glory or popular thing about Bhima. So Bhima was working as a cook. No, see, they never say this as or the dignity of a labor. I was what that prince and king's son. How can you ask me to become a cook, ordinary cook? So this kind of mentality, our ancestors broke and they lived. When the critical period comes, they have taken this kind of job and they applied it. This is Bhima. This is the reference sloka for Bhima. And third one, our Arjuna has become dance teacher, the king's daughter, Uttara. So Arjuna was teaching dance to the king's daughter Uttara. And this is the reference sloka from Mahabharata. Arjuna's name was Brihannala. So there is one big what the background story. Arjuna got or that curse from Urvashi and other. I'm not going into the details. And third, fourth, Nakula. Nakula has become the horse person. He is taking care of the department of horses. He knows the knowledge of Ashwa Hridayam. How to understand horses, how to multiply horses, how to control all the things we are doing. This man was doing then Nakula. 1 year they spent time. And these are the reference sloka from Mahabharata. And the fifth one is Sahadeva. Sahadeva took care of all the cows, cow department. Cow department. So you just milk and make it was curd and export, import, all those things. You are doing this. So he was taking care of cow. Now what? Our attitude towards the village, hey, you are taking care of cowboy, Gopala. Like, no. Now see this. How they were. Prince. These are the children of a great or the Pandu. And when time comes, they respected the work and they dedicated and got good name also. And the last one is very interesting. These are the reference sloka. The last one is how Draupadi has become beautician. To the king. And I heard Draupadi knows more than 500 hairstyles. And she knows how to beautify. Even if you give a very ugly girl, and she makes very beautiful. This is the glory of our Draupadi. So we should not think they lived very posh life and very hi-fi life. And they learned this kind of hard art. When time comes, they know how to apply, they know how to survive. So these are the reference slokas from Mahabharata, the vocational education Mahabharata. So reimagine the vocational education. This idea is a very brilliant idea of the team NEP. I appreciate the team again and again. And I appreciate you also, Rajulji, Pratap. Very nice work. I thought that we are working in a small area, but you are working in a very big level. Appreciating your great effort and appreciate the NEP team. And I like this idea very much. Now India is very much needed of this kind of dignity of labor. And one more point I heard, our Krishna, who is a Dwarakapuri, Dwarakadisha, so he took over the work of charioting the Arjuna. So he has become Sarthi. Arjuna was sitting top, Krishna was sitting below, and Arjuna's dust is falling on his head. And he took care of this kind of, he was taking care of all the horses also. So this one example of Krishna is more than enough how to bring the dignity of labor in our country. So we have to train our children in such a way that he has to have the ability to fly in the aircraft. At the same time, he should know how to go in the bullocart also. So this kind of the big range, we have to inculcate in our students' heart. So thank you very much for giving this chance. This kind of the point I want to explain. Thank you very much, Raju.
Thank you, Swamiji. It was a kind of an eye opener, though we have been hearing about all these things, but you brought it up remarkably that it is in our culture. It was always there, but somehow we just forgot that. But this dignity of labor, would be placed post this NEP implementation. And this example of Mahabharata, I'm sure it's very effective. And all the educators, all the school who are participating in this, they would be I'm sure they would like to share this with their students as well. So thank you, Swamiji, for joining and sharing all these things. We'll come back to you with questions. Thank you, Swamiji. Now with this, I would request Dr. Rishi Khurana ji. Dr. Khurana, your ideas, your thoughts, and how you believe that we can bring that dignity of labor in our kids.
Thank you for giving this opportunity. Swamiji has already elaborated in a very mythological manner and close to heart kind of thing, where he has elaborated on dignity of labor and attaching it to the vocational education point of view. So thanks, Swamiji, for making the pitch for me. And talking about what national education policy, why this has been made and how vocational education comes in and what kind of numbers they are looking for, I'll be elaborating more on that. So Rajulji, I'll be asking you for add to some presentation which I can show to my fellow members out here in next 5 minutes. Is it okay? We
Yes,
can.
sir,
Okay.
yes, you can.
So,
You can present your skill.
Okay, thank you. Just give me 5 minutes, then I'll talk about this and then we can go for the presentation. So, the National Education Policy 2020 envisaged for some transformational reforms in the Indian education system. It not only talks about the dignity of labor or giving new opportunities, but it emphasizes on experimental learning along with the focus of 21st century skills like critical thinking, like problem solving, like in a different situation, how to react. This policy expects that by the year 2020, at least 50% of learners through the school and higher education system shall have exposure to vocational education. So this is a new target what they have set for the schools, and I believe the schools have got a very very important role to play in this transformation from the academics learning to vocational learning. As Swamiji has rightly said that right till now we have been taking vocational education as not as far as the academic qualifications, but as per the new NEP 2020, it is very much required. And you'll be surprised that as per periodic labor force participation survey 2017-2018, only 2% of the persons of 15 to 59 age group had received formal vocational training. Nearly 6.1% of them were beneficiaries of non-formal vocational technical training. And these low numbers are a matter of concern. So coming from there, may I request you, sir, to please let me present this, the
Yes, sir.
presentation.
Yeah. So you can present it, sir.
Okay. Rajuji, can you see this now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, as Swamiji was thanking our bureaucrats and the education department, I would also like to extend a big thank you to them for evaluating our policy after 4 decades and giving us something in hand where the ideas can be implemented. So, right now, we have, through this image, I would like to say that the education out here is evaluated with the formal education is evaluated with training part and the vocational kind of thing. So this gives a little kind of upper edge. Yes, we can also, the vocational training is a very very much important in future uh, careers of the students. Second, I would like to emphasize on the timelines for implementation of NEP, because this is very much important to understand where we are standing right now and after 15 or 20 years hence, what we are looking forward from this. So out of all this, like 2021, you can see this policy has been implemented, and by 22, it will be start functioning and framework which should be decided. But for the teachers and the schools, 2022 and 23 is very much important because they will be setting the guidelines for the teachers and they will be preparing the transformation process of assessment also. So as we were discussing about that Mr. Das has already mentioned about assessing the students without comparing them each other, but that is very much important because holding this vocational degree in the hand or one kind of skill will never let any child sleep empty stomach. Though we have got a lot of degrees and thanks to whatever the policies the government is making, a lot of people are here in India are jobless. They are having a lot of good degrees, but they don't have job. So at the end of the day, they are doing the jobs which they were not able, they were not thinking of. So if at all a child which has got maybe a low talent in education, but as somebody was saying that he might have got some different talent. So the schools, the educational institutions, higher education institutions are now will be showcasing them or will be putting them in through what kind of knowledge they will be requiring. So vocationalization of education is what I'll be talking about is NEP 2020. So vocational education, it doesn't mean only that we are training them with some kind of one training program or something. It carries a lot of different scopes like practical apprenticeship of any kind of specific skill, job preparation, how to face the interviews, how to do anything, how to face people. It also comes under overall development of the child. Then future learning skills, what kind of jobs we are looking for in the future, skill employment talents, what kind of specific skills are required at the for different kind of jobs. So it also comes for the training, tutorial, technical employment development, career developments. So a lot of things are covered under vocational education. So, as per the government HRD department, they have reimagining vocational education by first 2025. They are expecting that 50% of the learners through the school and higher education system shall have exposure to vocational education. That means we have to work very hard. We have to improve our teachers. We have to build a new infrastructure in the school where we have to give them the vocational training. So lot of changes have to be done from the school side, beginning with the vocational exposure at early ages in the middle and secondary schools from grade 6 to 8. Quality value education will be integrated smoothly in the higher education, because that is the learning phase where when we talk of grade 6 and grade 8 or 9 students, where we are not very burdened with the education system or academic kind of performance. There they have got little time also. I run a boarding school in Delhi, and we have got a lot of time with the kids in the evening, though we have prepared their timetable very exhaustively. But again, when if at all this vocational education is introduced, certainly we will be having an above edge than the normal schools, because we have got a lot of time in the evening where they can practice what they have learned in their classes today in the vocational programs. Third point, what they want to cover is every child to learn at least one vocation and exposed to several more. It means he will not be only confined to one kind of vocational training program. He will be given expertise in one, but he will be exposed to different kind of platforms. So when we talk of overall development, overall personality development kind of thing, so this will help in that. The sampling of important vocational crafts such as carpentry, electric work, metal work, gardening, pottery making, etc., are decided by the states and local communities during the grades of from 6 to 8. So here the role comes of the educator and the parent. What kind of vocational trait they want their child to absorb with? Secondly, what kind of infrastructure the school is going to provide to these kind of students where they can enhance their skills. So here again, the school has to share a lot of burden on that. Next comes a 10-day bagless period. That is one thing I would like to stress upon. A 10-day bagless period sometime during grade 6 to 8 to intern with local vocational experts such as carpenters, gardeners, potters, artists, etc. This will give them I would say, on-hand knowledge of what the people who are helping the society with their trades gonna feel. These children, when we have got school carpenter, we have got school gardener, certainly they are watching them working, but spending a good time with them, understanding their frame of mind, and as it has been really already said, the dignity of labor, this will build a connection between that fellow man and the student. And certainly one fine day students can take that as a vocational interest, and gradually they can increase their talent and enhance their talents and become some sculpture, or they are big artist, or I should say some horticulture expert. So this is a ground to lay those seeds. Similar internship opportunities to learn vocational subjects to students throughout grade 6 to 12, including holiday periods, has already been elaborated. Vocational courses through online mode will also be made available. Right now, NIOS is already working hard on this thing. PMYK scheme is already working on this kind of thing. Skill development